Hey guys, it's Faye from Solarflow, and I'm back with another video. Today's topic is a deep dive behind the veil analysis of Michael Jordan. So if this sounds like an interesting topic to you, please stick around, and if not, I will catch you at another video. So Michael Jordan, I actually grew up watching Michael Jordan. I was a bit of a tomboy, and I loved me a good basketball game. And even to this day, if you ask me who is the greatest player of all time, I will reject all information of anyone that has come thereafter, even a Kobe Bryant, even a LeBron James, and I will tell you the greatest player of all time is Michael Jordan. I grew up watching him. He is my generation. I was absolutely amazed by him. He was the shit. Let's just call him what he is. He was the greatest of all time, in my humblest of opinion. So what was very interesting when I started to read his energy, though, was the deep and intense sadness around him. He is a very highly functioning, depressed person. He has been depressed ever since the passing of his father. And his father was his best friend. He absolutely adored his father, and his father absolutely adored him. Now, Michael Jordan's success is also completely connected to and tied to his father. And here's why. So Michael Jordan loved the game. He loved playing basketball. He had tremendous raw talent. He was quite good. And even when he was playing in college, I would say even actually before that, people were keeping an eye on him. Like, he was making waves. He was really quite good. He wasn't quite there yet, but he had a lot of the raw talent that it would take to craft an all-star player. And they were keeping an eye on him for a good couple of years until he was actually approached and was asked, they could make him the greatest player, and he would, at that time, but he would also be referred to as one of the greatest players of all time. And they, at some point, would come to collect. Was he interested? And he had a lot of questions. He didn't just jump right into it, and he wasn't just yeah, sure, whatever. He actually had a number of questions. He's like, well, tell me the process. What's it going to be like? How long is it going to take? And he felt like they were giving him actually a lot of leniency and a lot of space and room for him to still be himself. This was in the early days of the powers that be approaching sports stars. So back then it was actually still they were quite lenient on the requirements that they had for him. Now it's very, very different for somebody that they're actually going to approach. But at that time, it was the infancy of sports stars being approached. And he felt like it was a great deal. And he was told at some point in the future they would come to collect. And he was under the impression what they were going to come and collect was a monetary amount. And they assured him, you're going to have all the money, don't worry. You're going to be able to hook your mom and your parents, and you will be able to hook them all up with their own houses and their own cars, and you will amass your own fortune. So he felt confident in the fact that what he was going to be giving up in exchange for his success was a monetary amount. So he made this deal with them. Now, at the time that he made the deal, it started to weigh on his conscience. Because here's the thing, he's not a bad person. He really didn't have any ill will or ill intent for anything to go wrong. He just thought he was going to have to, at some point, give a little extra money to be considered the greatest player of all time. And he was told at the time that he inquired, they were going to, connect him with the best coaches and get him on the right team, and they were going to just work with his natural raw talent, but enhance it through natural means, not in any way with steroids or anything like that. But they were understanding him and his natural abilities that were just going to enhance it. So he felt very, very comfortable with it. But at the point that he made the deal, because he is not a bad person, it did weigh on him. He, in some way, without understanding what it was, intuitively understood that it was not the right decision for him to have made. But he didn't have much like most intuition, he didn't have the supportive evidence in supplying him with the understanding of why it was not the right move for him to make. He just intuitively knew that it was not, but he already made the deal. And at the point when he started to get really, really, really good, he started to actually drink and gamble, and he was becoming a little bit reckless, one could say. And it was even during the season as well. It wasn't just on the off season. And then this was happening twofold. This was happening because he was actually starting to see, hey, yeah, they are keeping to their word. I am becoming a really, really good player. I have this great team around me. So he was getting a little bit cocky. He was realizing the benefits that had been acquired by him making the deal. But it still weighed on his consciousness. So he was becoming a little bit reckless and a little bit cocky for two reasons. One, it weighed on his consciousness, and two, he was starting to see, hey, yeah, I'm getting really, really good. Now, if you're wondering, how do they actually make somebody in sport, or back then, now it's different. But back then, how did they make somebody the greatest player of all time? Naturally. So there's a film called Moneyball. And even though I told you, don't take movie recommendations from me, I would actually watch this movie if you haven't seen it. Because, first of all, I'm going to explain, without giving anything away, but I'm going to explain to you what is depicted in the film and how it applies here. So the premise of Moneyball is there is a general manager of a baseball team, and he decides, instead of crafting a team around specific players, right? So that guy's a really good shortstop. We want him. We're going to trade blah and blah for Bloom. Instead of doing it that way and looking at the player, they started to look at the analytics of each player. And they crafted a team, a baseball team, entirely around the player's analytics. So it's taking the concept of, hey, like, who's a baseball player that I know? A-Rod. I don't even know what position he played. But let's say it's not that they want specifically an A-Rod. They wanted somebody that had certain analytics for the position that they were playing. So they wanted a shortstop or third baseman or outfieldsman or whatever it's called, man, with certain analytics behind their performance. And they used all of those analytics to craft a team with the hope of crafting a winning team. It is wild. It is fascinating. I actually do recommend you go see that movie. And yes, you can actually trust my recommendation on this film. So that is very much what they did with Michael Jordan. All of the other players did not know that this was done, or that they were brought onto the team with the intention, but they were looking at the analytics of each player to see who would complement Michael Jordan's play in the best possible way. So for example, who's a really, really good point guard that has off the charts like assists? They would bring that player on, so that player would support Michael Jordan with getting the ball to him so he would score. Who's a really good forward? I'm making this up because I don't know, but it's to give you the idea of what was going on. Who is a really, really good power forward that can steal the ball and can pass it down the court so that MJ could get a crazy ass layup. That's what was done. All of the analytics was looked at with players that were going to support Michael Jordan in being the best possible player that he could be. They were also working at, he was a skinny ass lanky kid when he first started out. They did start working him out with weights, and they were doing some other, I think they were even doing like yoga with him and shit like that. But they were doing like, not that yoga is shit. It is the shit, it's not shit. I'm drawing a line in the sand there. I taught yoga for many years. It's not shit, but it is the shit. So they were anyway bringing in a lot of these other things. They were having him work out with weights so he could increase his strength. They were increasing his flexibility. They were allowing him to have more or a greater mind-body balance. All of this was done naturally. Again, this was in the early stages of poaching sports players and basically, you know, owning them at some point, or for a collection at some point, but owning them in the interim. And again, he had the most leniency because it was in the early days. So he did gradually become the greatest player because he had all of the supportive elements, right? They were working out, they were understanding his actual raw talent, they were making him stronger, they were making him leaner, they were making his body more open so that he could do crazier things when he was playing basketball, doing these amazing layups and whatnot. So they were enhancing naturally what his raw talent was, and through the analytics of the players, they were crafting a winning team around him. Now, you might be wondering, what did they come to collect? Remember how I said that Michael Jordan's success is directly connected to his father? It was not a monetary amount that they were coming for with Michael Jordan. It was a person. It was the closest person to him that he loved the most in the world and that loved him the most in the world. And they came for his father. His father was the price for Michael Jordan's success. So, when he won the championships in the season after his father had been killed, I will never forget this. I was watching the game live, and again, I was a pipsqueak. I didn't understand anything behind the veil, but it so profoundly stayed with me. The image of him bawling hysterically in the locker room, clinging to the championship trophy after his father had died. Because it was then that he came to understand the price of his success was his father. And when he was clinging to the trophy, he was trying to prove to himself that it was worth it. Because look what I have. I have the championship trophy. I am the greatest of all time. He needed, in that time and in that space, because he was so emotionally distraught, he needed to feel like he had made the right decision. And I also asked his energy, if he had to do it all again, would he have still taken the deal? And I saw his energy looking around at everything that he had amassed. The house or houses, I don't know what his lifestyle is like. But he had the championship rings. He had the championship trophies. He had the MVPs. He had the gold medals from playing in the Olympics. He had the gravitas and the name and the acknowledgement that he is one of the greatest of all time. Would he have done it again? And I kind of got that he was of two minds, which was he didn't actually want to think about it. Because again, acknowledging what he had to give up is too much for him. But he would tell himself, the lies we tell ourselves, he would look around at everything he had amassed and he would tell himself, yes, he would have done it all over again, because look at everything he has to show for it. But the lies we tell ourselves, because he has never energetically been the same since his father died. His energy is completely, he's a defeated man, energetically. High functioning. But life has lost color for him. Life has lost all flavor for him. It's like somebody who suffers like a weird ass nose injury and therefore can never enjoy the food that they eat again because we have taste buds in our nose. Random, I know. But it's the same way. It's as if this major foodie whose pleasure in life was so directly connected to the foods that they would eat and the steaks that they would have and the wine that they would drink. And then they have this weird ass thing happen to them where they have a nose injury and they lose all the flavor of the food that they eat. Life, not just the food, but life would lose its flavor for them as well. And ever since Michael Jordan's father passed, or was killed, is an accurate way of saying it, ever since he was killed, that has been Michael Jordan's experience. Life has lost all flavor for him. It's sad. He's actually a really, really sad. I wish I could go hug him. His energy was gutted. His energy was devastated. Like he's just very much someone that is going through the motions, but is not present in his life. He's just been absolutely gutted by the murder of his father. So don't make a deal with the devil, y'all. Don't do it. You don't know what they're going to come for. You don't know what they're going to want. Don't do it. That's my 2 cents for today. So as always, I hope that you have enjoyed this video in some way, shape, or form. If you know somebody that's an MJ lover and they're open to behind the veil topics, please share this video with them. And as always, until next time, stay in your own personal high vibration.